Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 11 starts now.
The coronavirus pandemic has killed more than 100 people in America, including our first death in Michigan.
People need to take this seriously. We had someone die today because of COVID-19.
Cases have now soared past the 7,000 mark, with testing shortages being reported at hospitals all across the country. And we begin with new cases of the coronavirus here in Metro Detroit. Tonight, Oakland County is now reporting it has 77 confirmed cases.
Macomb County announcing cases there have doubled, going from 10 to 20. Mara McDonald live at Beaumont in Southfield. And Mara, earlier we heard from the governor who had a message for anyone wanting to get tested.
And a message, Devin, that is echoed by doctors, which is this: if you're not a senior citizen and if you are otherwise healthy, save that test for somebody who's in a higher risk category. Take a look.
Coronavirus testing is being processed on site at Beaumont on a limited basis. We simply do not have the bandwidth, the testing supplies to test everyone.
Which is why doctors are asking you to follow Governor Whitmer's example here.
Yesterday, someone from the press asked me if I had been tested, and I said, no. I am healthy. I'm exhibiting no signs. I have had no known exposure with anyone who has COVID-19. And if I somehow became aware that I had, I would do what I've been telling the public to do, which is stay at home and self-quarantine.
I want to be clear that not everyone with COVID-19 symptoms, which includes fever, cough, and shortness of breath, needs to be tested.
But if you're elderly or have underlying medical issues, especially heart, lung, and autoimmune, you are who they want to test if you have symptoms. Please call before you come in for testing. The state's first COVID-19 death is a man in his 50s with underlying health problems who died this morning at a Beaumont hospital in Wayne County.
Our medical team went to extraordinary efforts to care for this patient, and we are deeply saddened by his passing and empathize with his family.
Tonight, Michigan has at least 110 cases. Expect that number to rise.
This is a very serious situation. As the situation continues to develop, we expect more cases, and unfortunately, we expect more fatalities.
Back here live, not only does the state have a coronavirus hotline, so do multiple hospital systems. Beaumont has an online diagnostic tool. They put that up today. It's a pretty good thing to check out if you're feeling lousy and you want to know whether they think that you qualify for a test. We're live in Southfield tonight. I'm Mara McDonald, Local 4.
Yeah, all right, Mara, thank you. Well, 2 members of Congress have tested positive for coronavirus. Ben McAdams of Utah and Mario Diaz-Balart of Florida announcing tonight they have the virus. Also in Washington, President Trump signs into law a coronavirus relief package that includes provisions for free testing and paid emergency leave. Now lawmakers are working on a 3rd bill that's expected to include help for impacted small businesses. Sarah Doloff has the latest.
Tonight, at least 2 members of Congress announcing they've tested positive for coronavirus. The first being Mario Diaz-Balart, a Republican lawmaker from Florida.
Mr. Manchin, aye.
This after the Senate approved a 2nd emergency relief bill. It provides some paid sick leave and free virus testing to anyone whose doctor deems it necessary. The president later signing it into law, also invoking a wartime power to draft American factories into producing critical equipment like protective gear for medical workers on the front lines and ventilators.
There's never been an instance like this where no matter what you have, it's not enough.
And with unemployment expected to rise, evictions and foreclosures have been put on pause for now.
After another rocky day on Wall Street, the New York Stock Exchange announcing a temporary floor trade closure. Everything will be done digitally starting Monday. On Main Street, News Americans could receive 2 checks from the government, part of a $1.2 trillion proposed stimulus, aimed at helping everyone from the biggest hotel chains and airlines to small mom-and-pop operations to everyday citizens.
My husband and I actually both lost our jobs as of yesterday.
And with alarming news that younger people may get sicker than previously thought, health experts pleading with spring breakers.
If I get corona, I get corona. At the end of the day, I'm not going to let it stop me from partying.
To heed social distance warning to slow the spread of the virus. Sarah Dolph, Local 4.
All right, Sarah. Concerns about the coronavirus have led the big three to agreeing to shut down their plants in North America. Most plants are going to be closed until March 30th so the facilities can be cleaned and sanitized. That move comes as the UAW was pushing for a 2-week plant shutdown.
It should have happened a long time ago. This should have never been in there. We all work in close proximities to each other, and if someone's sick and they sneezing and coughing, you have the fans blowing all those germs on you. It's not safe.
You know, there's so many people in there. There's approximately $1,500 people per shift, and that's a lot of people in one place.
So the coronavirus is putting us into this unprecedented place, the nation hunkering down. 75 years ago, the nation turned to the arsenal of democracy, Detroit. And tonight it looks like we're doubling back on that. Our Ben Setter Rod Maloney is live downtown with more on that story. Rod?
Well, Devin, we just heard the president say he feels like he's on a wartime footing. And of course, the opponent this time is something you can't see and you certainly don't want to touch. But the two of the big three, Ford and General Motors here, General Motors right behind me here, are saying, hey, if you need ventilators, we'll make them.
Most sensational in Buick's imposing parade of war products is America's answer to tank dominance in battle, the Hellcat.
Here's a quick history lesson. Detroit's Davison Freeway became the nation's first, built because GM needed to quickly transport its new tanks off the assembly line and overseas to war. Ford built B-24 Liberator aircraft at Willow Run in Ypsilanti instead of building cars. Both helped the United States win World War II. 80 years later, we're looking at a new war with a killer virus. National Economic Advisor Larry Kudlow telling Fox News.
I spoke to two of the three of the big three car makers today, and they want to get going as soon as they can. This
time it's war material of the medical kind, ventilators, and anything else really, needing great engineering and manufacturing prowess. Again, Detroit is saying yes, it's willing and able to put unused assembly space to good use, humanitarian use. GM statement saying, quote, Mary Barra was in contact with the administration today to provide an update on the decision to suspend production. She also indicated GM is working to help find solutions for the nation during this difficult time and has offered to help. And we're already studying how we can potentially support production of medical equipment like ventilators. Ford saying, quote, it stands ready to help the administration in any way we can, including the possibility of producing ventilators and other equipment. We've had preliminary discussions with the U.S. government and are looking into the feasibility. Now, feasibility becomes an issue. You can't get this up and running in a couple of days. You need specs, which they don't have. They need a supply chain, which they don't have. But they can also get it up and running pretty quickly should the need become evident. Devin, back to you.
Well, Rod, as for the plants that closed today, we're hearing from auto workers who are getting the call to be at work in the morning, and this reminds us this business is an aircraft carrier.
Yes, that's true. You can't turn it on a dime, Devin. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people are getting the call into work because in some instances, the car companies are staggering their closures, and it may be over the next few days before the plant closes. In the meantime, it also takes time to shutter a plant. You can't just walk out of the building, like in, for instance, paint equipment. You can't just leave that. You could kill the equipment. And so the bottom line here is that it's going to take a day or two or even 3 for them to figure out what it is precisely that they need to do.
Yeah.
Certainly a lot
Back
to
to
think
you.
about. Okay, Rod, thank you. Well, Canada and the U.S. have agreed to close off borders for non-essential travel between the two countries. Supply trucks and people crossing the border for everyday work will still be allowed to pass through. Recreational travel, though, will not be allowed to cross. The president says the restrictions could last 30 days. Our coverage of the coronavirus continues on clickondetroit.com, where Dr. McGeorge is answering all your questions. Look for it on our homepage.
We're in the middle of a wet and pretty chilly night across Metro Detroit.
But Ben is tracking a warm-up on the way. Hi, Ben.
Yeah, guys, and with those warm temperatures, we're going to get some spring storms, which coincidentally will start about 24 hours from right now as we're looking at those storms tomorrow. And as the rain leaves tonight, the severe risk starts to move into Michigan. This is tomorrow. We're in that green shade. It's not everybody. It's just barely a little bit of our south and west zone, but it is the marginal risk, and we could be having some wind gusts near 60 miles an hour with some of these thunderstorms tomorrow night. Now, in the morning when we walk out the door, we're looking at 30s, temperatures in the mid-40s, but we've got a ways to go. As you mentioned, 60s coming, but it's going to be overnight.